David Clarke, Before Christmas. David Clarke.
This is my Christmas confession. The knock on the door that night was very clear, and two CID officers introduced themselves. They informed me they'd come to arrest me for stealing a television set. I knew what to do, and I did the right thing. I knew I wanted to do what was right. So I invited them in to the kitchen. And as I sat down, I said I'd surely go with you to the police station and make a confession and write a statement. But before I do, I want to tell you, there are many crimes I've committed, none of which you'd be able to solve unless I tell you. And I also told them why I was telling them. They then informed me that my friend Mick West had been charged with receiving stolen goods. And he had in turn told them that he had received a television set from me. Now, it was no ordinary TV set. It was a Baird 25-inch console model, top of the range, in a wooden cabinet with doors. Dual standard, 405 line VHF, 625 line UHF, receiver. Only available from Radio Rentals. It had been stolen to order. You see, Mick West and I had come to an agreement and cut a deal. He had a beautiful Citroen DS, hydroelastic suspension, a green car, lovely car, and he wanted a colour TV set. And colour TV sets in those days, 1969, before Christmas, were very expensive. I offered him a 25-inch television set, for I'd seen one, and I knew where to get one. My friend and I had seen one in Redfield's old people's home, in the lounge, where my girlfriend worked. And the sash window was left open overnight to allow fresh air into the room. We drove that Christmas night, before Christmas, to the old people's home, and it was very easy. All the lights were out. We lifted the sash window, we climbed in the window, unplugged the wires and the TV set, the aerial, the mains lead, and lifted the whole set onto the windowsill, climbed back out of the window, and lifted the whole set into the boot of my car. A black Hillman Minx, a very large boot. Then we drove all the way to Winslow to Mick West's. Mick West was very pleased. His wife was over the moon. You see, that television set was Mick West's Christmas present for his family that year, 1969. The Bucks Herald local newspaper recorded the court case on the 11th of February 1971, and the headline news read, "Why he confessed to 24 crimes," and in bold capital letters, "Converted on LSD trip." And it goes on to read, David Clarke, who had a 3-year career of undetected crime, experienced a Christian conversion after suffering the effects of LSD. He told the court on that Tuesday in February. Clarke, after an agonising year of torment of mind, confessed to 24 crimes and gave information leading to the recovery of over £1,000 worth of stolen goods. In court, Clarke pleaded to the theft of a colour TV set from old people's home, a £20 spray gun and a hydraulic jack. And he also asked for 21 other offences to be taken into consideration, which included a 48-foot by 24-foot builder's shed, 2 cars, a hydraulic jack, 2 compressors, and many other things. Now, Clarke in court told the court that he had a reputation in the town for being a young man that having a good time. He used to sell drugs to young people. He'd indulge in permissive sex. And as far as he was concerned, religion was rubbish. Only for city people that couldn't stand on their own 2 feet. Clarke had been using drugs since he was 16, marijuana and pet pills, but it was only after experiencing a bad trip on LSD that he described a torment of experience. And in the court he warned any young person that hears his testimony that they should stay clear of drugs of every sort. He described his torment that he experienced on LSD. And during that time, he cried out to God for help, saying, "Jesus, please help me." And Jesus spoke to him. He said, "Dave, I'm with you. You've been searching for a long time. This is what our Father says. What you've been going through is nothing compared to what hell is like." And Mr. Peter Murray, a school teacher for Wendover, stood in defence of Clarke to testify to the sincerity of Clarke's testimony. You see, he said that he'd been engaged in prayer for this young, profligate young man by prayers which were suggested by a mutual friend. But he was very sceptical of sudden conversions and preferred to put them to the test of time. And he said to the court, the time which has elapsed since Clarke's conversion had convinced him that his testimony was true, and from now on and from this day forward, he will be like salt and light to society. He put himself out to help other people. He read the Bible profusely, attended a wide circle of churches, and would spend hours in discussion on spiritual things. One of Clarke's difficulties during the time was this: with all the stolen goods he'd acquired, how could he confess without involving and implicating other people? Now, past his sentence, Colonel Tetley of the Magistrates' Court spoke to Clarke and said, "You have pleaded guilty to 3 charges and asked us to take into consideration 21 others. Except in such a short period of time, which is quite the worst we've ever seen. We've considered what we ought to do. But we've considered and looked at it, and we believe that your evident desire to become a martyr is one thing we are not going to gratify." He conditionally discharged Clarke for a period of 3 years. During which time he said, "The sincerity of your conversion will be evident during that time." This happened 1969. Thank Trump for Christmas.
And now for your reading, enjoyment and entertainment, David Clarke's new book, Converted on LSD Trip,
3rd edition,
has been published. This tells the whole story. As David told you in his monologue, Colonel L. Tetley, speaking on behalf of the magistrates, said to Clarke, "Your behaviour during a 3-year period of your conditional discharge will show the sincerity of your conversion." This book tells the whole story of David's birth, his early years, criminal past, conversion to Christianity, further education, becoming a Baptist minister and lecturer, teaching in colleges of higher and further education for over 20 years, and his move to Fareham, which led to the publication of the first edition of this book, Converted on LSD Trip. This book has just been released and is in full colour. It's available now from amazon.co.uk and amazon.com.